time zones really quickly. Okay? We're gonna teach you timelines or time zones really quickly. PST is 3 hours behind Eastern time. And 9 plus 3 is 10, 11, 12. It's 12 a.m. Eastern, not 11. Back to the show.
Timeline script.
Here we go.
Last time we covered the origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear come to life, and the infuriating moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the two franchises results in William meeting Henry, a brilliant designer with a knack for robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's Flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, Afton was thriving. The world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting.
Artix, hold on. Another timeout. I thought it was PST, Central, then Eastern. What does that mean? PST is on the West Coast. Central is in the center. It's in the center. Imagine that. It's in the center. And then Eastern is on the East Coast. And then you have a fourth one that you didn't even mention. Mountain. And guess where that is? The mountains. It's in the mountains. It's in the fucking mountains. The Rocky Mountains, to be specific. We're gonna let you slide. We're gonna let you cook, gang. It's okay. Okay?
Ways of bringing characters to life. Bringing things to life, yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life,
so far he's killed one
death,
person. He's killed one child so
far.
far.
Intimately familiar with. But before Afton acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our newest channel. Guys, this is a huge moment for us theorists.
We're gonna just skip through this. Thank you.
Has already given me the excuse to is running Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these two men.
This is where
a
game
human
one
suit
starts.
as
This is
designed
where
by
game one
William
starts.
that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny
I've got
system where
large
cameras
brain.
and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic
Girls
Friend
or Femmes,
Fredbear.
as a whole.
Plushy Fredbear.
They're all the same to me.
Since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael. There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his younger brother by jump scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time?
Valid.
It just wasn't fair.
That's
it was
valid,
time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he—
Unc does not care about spoilers at this point. What do you mean? I've played through the 4th game. What else is there to spoil? No game has taught me anything about the lore. It doesn't exist. There's nothing I've gathered nothing from any of the games. So, I don't know what to talk about. We want to watch the video, not hear you talk about it. Oh, okay, here you go, gang. Here you go. You can go watch it indefinitely if you'd like to. There you go. All right, here we go. Back to the show.
Getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately
Is rage baiting even useful or funny? You should go try it against your friends and see if it's funny.
The boy was taken to the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed. bed, but the damage was too severe. He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together.
Oh,
this
but in
would
a
not
suit.
be the end. No matter what,
suit.
Williams' son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now, he just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife.
That was after he got
tragedy,
chomped up.
Changes started happening around the restaurant.
That was after
Kids
he
were
got
now
chomped
required
up.
to wear security wristbands.
Yeah, that was the bite of
to prevent
87.
anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who...
No, that was the bite of 6-7. That was the bite of 6-7. Was that the bite of 6-7? I think it was. I think it might have been.
Approach the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was Williams' idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's spring lock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William would eventually bury the boy's small body in a remote location out in the woods right alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael was far worse. Complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window, the boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck
Fnaf 4.
inside the suit that took his life.
4.
The suit's
That
Michael.
I played as Michael in
the
Fnaf
words,
4.
It's me ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place to think, to remember, to reflect,
it's actually
and
Fnaf
stew
4.
on how Henry had stolen his idea for an...
Why is William Afton portrayed as a purple guy with a frowny face? You would think such a murderous and heinous character could get a little more than that. You know what I'm saying? You would really think that. He'll get to it? Okay.
Animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the
It's like his aura. It's like his aura. He's got a purple aura because he's royalty. Fuck you talking about? Fuck you talking about? Dead ass. I think I got like a golden aura. Cause like I don't miss. I'm golden. Dead ass. Dead ass.
When everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy.
And now
there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him.
Dead
the
ass.
robotic part was the part that failed after all. William ordered one more drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home.
He got mad. He got mad
William
cups of
back
milk.
To the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building. Bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea.
Bullies.
Beautifully awful.
Bullies. She
This
should have
was
rage
his
baited
chance
the
to get
bullies,
back at
low-key.
the man that had
She should have rage baited
humiliated him
them.
all those years ago.
Deadass.
Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's
should have rage
robotic
baited them.
suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley.
What do you mean?
He felt good. He felt
What do you mean by that?
Years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart, finally released in a moment of pure, unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts.
Oh my god. Matt Pat.
In that moment,
Matt Pat really got into that.
Dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence.
Wait, I low-key, I didn't see how Charlie died because I had to ban somebody in TikTok chat.
Inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure, unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts.
Oh my god.
And in that moment, William became a killer.
Oh my
dropped
God.
Charlie's lifeless body and drove home.
That was a mini
to confront
game?
his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2
she stuffed in Chica?
in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location. And there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important.
The bite of 83.
He was down there in the first place.
The bite
this
of
was
83.
all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him. Right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound. Michael would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls when there is music in my heart?
I'm glad I ain't hear that. I ain't hear that at all. I ain't hear that one time. I ain't hear that one time.
No more joy.
What is this?
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's
The
this?
baby isn't
I'm keeping
mine.
the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering
that's me.
feeling.
That's
William
dead
wasn't
ass what
done.
I be
He
saying.
had gotten a taste of what it
I
felt
be
like to
saying
be
that.
unleashed.
When they try to say that I got 23 baby mamas and all them kids, the baby isn't mine. That's how I'll be talking about.
Felt like
that's what I'll be talking about.
Charlie's murder had unlocked something in him.
What you talking
He
about?
wanted more. June 26,
Dead ice.
1985. Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had died. He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
But where to hide the bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found and where they'd never leave the building. They had to be stuffed inside of the suits. No one maintained those things anyway, except for
this
him.
guy's a
And so
freak.
Susie would
This
go
guy's
into
literally a
Chica.
freak.
Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next, but it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll just
played Sister Location
Throw a
FNAF
bag
5?
over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the
my
others. He'd
God.
let himself go too far. That one he shouldn't have killed. With no more active animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long-forgotten yellow Fredbear, now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back, but they couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had was circumstantial at best, so he walked away a free man. But Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again, so he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics, inspired by the toys that they had been selling years ago. But these guys, these were special. They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database, so they can detect a predator a mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him, that was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No, as long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number to apply at the bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply call. Afton would go back, not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly day shift security guard. And there it was, buried in the back of...
I played as Afton? I was Afton the whole time? I was Afton the whole time? Oh, though day shift, not night shift. Day shift, not night shift. Day shift, not night shift.
Parts and services mixed in with the old withered animatronics was the golden rabbits. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back. The yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
1987, 5 more kids. He didn't know what felt better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only been open for a few weeks,
he literally
but William
just got
was
back
sure
into
that
it. He's like an
would
addict.
get it to close.
He's like
Good,
an
if he
addict.
couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't.
Because the kids are in them.
How were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow.
No, they were trying to save the kids because they were the original kids, and they were trying to save them because they knew what would happen to them. My Shayla. What?
Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bit.
And they were trying to get to me. They were trying to get to me because I was the night shift worker, because they knew. Oh my god. They knew that William Afton was the day shift security. And they thought that I was William Afton because I was the night shift, and they didn't know the difference. Oh my god. Oh my god, the kids. They were trying to save it.
By one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for For him? William's curiosity was stronger now than his bloodlust. He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's Pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizza World. This would be the place where he could continue his
sister location?
work. No longer just murdering, experimenting.
This is sister
he
location?
needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victims and preserving them for his work. With that goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and flexible. He equipped them with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him.
I should stop watching.
It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars and wires of Henry's designs. And the characters he chose for this were uniquely his. His new roster wasn't going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations. Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as two special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his baby in mind, Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him, the one that obeyed, until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with
Is she gonna kill this thing?
Didn't you make her just for me?
What?
The day before Circus Baby's Pizza World opened, she disobeyed. She didn't listen. Left alone with Baby, she got too close. The animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole. A scared and confused
You're not a celebrity,
child
read your chats. You're not saying anything, gang.
By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait,
you just finding about this? Yes, bro. I wasn't a loser in 2014.
The robot had changed.
I'm a loser
Baby
now.
had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth's. Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen at Freddy's? He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but William's damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another, then another. William repeatedly snuck into the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons.
That was
the
the
metal
lore.
had to be the secret. It had to contain the
That was
remnants
the
of
lore.
life itself.
That
but
was the
he had to know
lore.
for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics
my
programming,
God.
he
Can you get a
dragged
happy
the
birthday?
oversized
Yes.
robotic
Happy
skeletons
birthday,
back to his
Chris
underground
Gulliver.
workshop, back to where Circus
birthday,
Baby
gang.
watched on with
Have a good
glowing,
one.
curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to one silvery puddle of goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creations? He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with the molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly, the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it. He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was clearly wrong. The movements were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else. Something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it. He needed more of this remnant. As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked. His past victims come to collect their due, all led by Cassidy. The 5 lined up and blocked the door.
Get them.
Afton's mind
Get them.
The scientific implications of this were incredible.
Get them.
Ghosts, real ghosts that he could see all standing against
Get him.
But what could they do?
Get him,
what
ghosts.
could they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the
How
thing
do
that
you know?
resulted in their death in the first place. He would get into his suit like old times. He would regain his power over them just like the day that they died. He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge. The spring lock snapped into place.
Yes.
Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky
Yes.
abandoned restaurant.
Yes.
Maybe it was just
He died.
fate coming to collect
He
its due.
died.
He didn't know. The only thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds
Yes.
of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this. It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished.
Die.
Unable to move, his
Die,
only
haters,
option
die.
was to
Rip
survive,
Bozo.
to live, to keep living. It took days lying in his own blood, but eventually someone found him. A security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage. And who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry would see him. They were partners after all. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
Get back, gang boy. Get back, gang boy. Fuck you talking about? Get back, gang. Fuck are you talking about? For Charlie type shit. For Charlie type shit. Henry or dead ass.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging
shit.
on for 30 years, trapped behind the walls with an iron will, refused to die. End of this part. I say this part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point. The episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is things that we already knew, stuff that's been established and reestablished time and time again by the games. That said, there are two things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of sister location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game seems to suggest that it was meant to come before the crying child's death in 1983. The biggest clue to this is that the crying child saw something. Remember what you saw is the phrase that's repeated over and over again by psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton speaking through a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths in their stomachs, just like Baby ripping in half at the waist to swallow a kid. There's also the empty girl's room, one presumably left behind by a dead sister. And lastly, it explains why he's scared, and more specifically, why Afton wants him scared. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died. That's then why he sets up the nightmares, to scare both Mike and the crying child away from the animatronics from that point forward. That's why books like the Character Encyclopedia outright suggest that we play as the crying child in Fnaf 4. That's why he has a nanny cam following the crying child everywhere, so he can keep tabs on his kids when they're out of his sight. He can't let another Elizabeth situation happen. The death of Elizabeth also gives William Afton extra motivation for killing. He's a grieving father. His daughter was taken away from him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children had to have died prior to Charlie's death, based on the mound of dirt that we see in Midnight Motorist. It also allows circus babies to open and close earlier in the timeline, which is how you wind up with Funtime Foxy appearing as Mangle in the FNAF 2 location. Basically, Elizabeth dying first has everything it needs to fit, except for the most important thing, the murder weapon. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant claw in its stomach so early in the timeline? At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't killed anyone, and we know for a fact that the missing children's incident is 1985. So Elizabeth's death coming before any of those events just doesn't work, hence why I placed it where I did in the narrative timeline. Afton's death here is also a bit tricky.
It seems just like a loop.
To the FNAF 1 location.
That kind of seems like a misplay. That kind of seems like a misplay by the writers, right? Like maybe that's just like an oversight by the writers. Is probably what it is. It's probably just an oversight by the creators.
In order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down 5 things to become one thing. Candy Cadet makes that very clear. So the 5 things are the 5 endoskeletons from the various animatronics. That would be totally fine if it weren't for one huge problem. On his 5th visit to the pizzeria, Afton gets spring locked. So either the 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he reemerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or he's had himself some reason.
He Springtrap? He Springtrap in he Springtrap in FNAF 3? He Springtrap in FNAF 3? I never realized. Have I not been paying attention? No, I have. I just think that I missed. I think I might have missed that one. I might have missed that one, low-key.
To return
I might
to
have
the
been looking
original
somewhere
location
else.
after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense. And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby leaving us with 5 more games to cover and another 40 plus years of Fazbear history to recap. Ooh, when you put it that way, something tells me that this might balloon into 4 parts.
Dang,
We'll
what?
see. Anyway, until then, my Faz heads, congratulations.
Oh my God. So like, okay, so let's think about this. Let's think about this for a second. What exactly no, he's not. No, I think he is. I think that he is Springtrap. He's Springtrap for sure. Gotta be. There's no way around William Afton to not be Springtrap. He is. He definitely is. No, he is. Yeah. I think you need to go rewatch the videos. To be honest. I think that you need to go rewatch the videos. Yeah. I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. Bro, imagine, hear me out for a second.